Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna do a book haul because I got a few books recently and I want to make a video. It's Sunday night. I'm having a glass of wine with this video because I already had a glass of wine and then I decided to film a video. I didn't plan this. On the topic of me not planning anything, let's put some lipstick on. Oh god, watch this hook go horribly awry. Hey, I'm now wearing some lipstick. I don't even know if you can tell in the lighting in my bedroom because, fun fact, the lighting in my bedroom is terrible and I am too broke to fix it. Or, I mean, I guess it's too broke, too lazy, too something. Too something. But now I'm wearing lipstick. Yay! Okay, it's getting warm in here. Alright, so into the book haul. I have a few things to show you. It's not a whole lot of things, and it's not necessarily going to take very long, which is a first for me. Normally this takes forever. The filming thing, the me talking thing. I'm expecting this to not take as long as it normally does, but if I keep rambling like this, it will. This is fine. Okay, in my philosophy of doing things with very little preparation, these are coming at you in the order of the way I piled them next to me. There is no other specific order other than the fact that I piled them next to me this way. So, first on the list is the Player's Handbook. It's a Dungeons & Dragons book. It's full of beautiful art and things. I enjoy it immensely. This game is basically all you need to play Dungeons & Dragons, unless you're the DM, because if you're the DM, then you need some more stuff. Probably. Like, you need to know more stuff about monsters, and how to be the bad guy, and all the other rules that the players don't have to know. But, like, if you're a player, this is all you need. And I started playing in Dungeons & Dragons before I had this, so now I have one, and I'm very excited about that. A fun fact, actually, this book was a gift from a friend of mine, and by friend, I mean I met this guy like a month ago, and we're in a show together, and he was like, hey, I have 2 copies of the Player's Handbook, and you said you don't have one. Do you want it? And I was like, you're gonna just give it to me? And, like, it was the sweetest, most wonderful, like, gesture from basically a stranger that has ever happened to me in my life. Because now I have this, and, like, these books are expensive, and I'm a little broke, but now I have one. And it's beautiful. And it's full of beautiful art, and it's full of all the rules and things that I wasn't able to, like, find before on the internet because the D&D company likes it for you to pay them for their artistic work, which is totally valid, but also I'm broke. And so now I have one of these, and it makes me very happy, deep in my soul, because it means that I can play my characters better and know what I'm doing, and have more interesting options, and it's just great. The next thing on my pile here is The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer. I started looking at this because Barnes & Noble was like, we're gonna do a book club event about it back in April / the beginning of May, and I liked The Interestings. I read Meg Wolitzer's The Interestings, and I thought that was cool, and this one also seemed like it might be cool, and I read like the first chapter and a half. 2 chapters. I read the first 2 chapters and I got a little, like, bored with it, and that makes me sad. I think it's the kind of thing that I have to be in a very specific mood to read, and I'm not. Like, at this moment in my life. I'm not in the mood of reading something that takes this much time and this much emotional effort and this much political consciousness, I guess, because this is a very political book. It's full of a lot of things, but like, the main thing is that it's full of feminism and, like, activist feminism and things like that. And I'm totally a feminist. I'm on board with feminism. But, like, you have to be in a specific mindset sometimes to engage with how complicated that can be and how complicated activism can be and that kind of thing. And engaging with, like, how do you combat people who don't understand and how do you deal with that, and how complicated can it get. Plus, Meg Wolitzer's stuff is always in this, like, mid-range gray area of, like, negativity. Like, there's this might just be The Interestings, But, like, I found, like, there was not a lot of positivity there. There was not a lot of positivity in those books. And this one, the first couple of chapters, felt the same way. It was very negative. It was very like, this is your normal, boring life, and it's gonna be normal and boring for the rest of your life, and normal, boring, average, and you just have to accept that. And that's, and like, So I might go back to that someday, but right now I'm not in the mood. The next book on my list is a stripped book. I work at a bookstore. Sometimes when we send books back, we have to take the covers off of them. They call that stripping it. Some people at the bookstore that I work at have mentioned at some point that they were upset when they learned that stripping books was a thing and that it was difficult for them to have to strip books. But I have not had that experience. I think that it's fine, probably. I don't know. I don't consider it the same as destroying books that an individual owns. Because if a person owns a book, and by a person I mean me, if I own a book, I'm not going to destroy my books. But if nobody owns it, if it's owned by a corporation, then I don't think it matters as much. You know, I think the importance of the physical book is kind of imbued in the way that it is loved by a person and the way that a person interacts with the text. And it's not like we're stripping and destroying every single copy of this book that's ever existed. It's just that we're taking the cover off of this one because we can't send it back to the publisher. So, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And that's just me. You can think it's that big of a deal if you want to, but I think that, like, when it comes to books and their physical appearance and damage to them, it would hurt me immensely if somebody damaged my books. But it doesn't hurt me immensely if I damage books that don't belong to anyone. Or, like, if books at my job that don't belong to anybody get damaged somehow. Like, it's a little sad, yeah, but it's not gonna hurt me. So anyway, this is a stripped book. It's called The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman. I know you can't see that because it doesn't have a cover. I picked this up out of the strips box after we took the cover off of it because it's a young adult novel and it's a fantasy. And really, sometimes that's all I need. I haven't picked this up yet because I've been working my way through a bunch of other young adult fantasies and I'm kind of getting out of the mood for that. I kind of need to take a step away and read something else, but for now, like, I have this, it's here, and I'll be able to read it when I please. There was another stripped book that I picked up from work that was called The Myth of the Maker, and it was the worst thing that I have tried to read in a really long time, and I don't know if that's just because, like, it was a sci-fi novel it was a fantasy sci-fi novel based on a tabletop RPG called The Strange, and I just didn't get it. And I don't know if it was just because I didn't understand, like, the rules of the game, or if there was something that I just wasn't getting, but it did not work for me. I didn't like it. I didn't care about any of the characters, and I didn't see myself starting to care about any of the characters because I just didn't like them. I thought they were awful. Last thing we're going to talk about today is the new pride and joy of my personal book collection, and that is these 3 classics that I bought at Barnes & Noble. So normally the leather-bound classics are these, like, big, hulking, like, really heavy classics, and you can't really read them. They're more display pieces than anything else. Like, you could read them if you wanted to, but it's really hard to read them because it's hard to carry them around. And they're really big, and they're really heavy, and that's just difficult. But recently, they came out with these beautiful soft cover editions that are a regular book size, that are normally sized fonts and just much easier to carry around with you and read. And so, I bought myself Dracula in this beautiful edition, The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I love The Phantom of the Opera, and this is gorgeous, and when I saw this, I almost died. And then I finally bought myself The Essential Tales of H.P. Lovecraft. The only thing, so with these 2, I was like 100% on board. I was like, yes, I need to own these. I love these things, and I just want this version of them in my collection, because I love the way they look, and the way they feel, and the way they match each other. I think that's great. And they're just wonderful. And then I wanted a third one to kind of round it out, because things that come in threes appeal to me. I'm sure there's a philosophical debate for why that is, but things that come in threes appeal to me, and I didn't want to buy just two. So I also picked up The Call of Cthulhu, or no, The Essential Tales of H.P. Lovecraft, which I'm assuming contains Cthulhu in it. Yeah. Which has The Call of Cthulhu in it, and At the Mountains of Madness, and Shadow Out of Time, and Innsmouth, and things like that. But Cthulhu and Lovecraftian stuff, I've never really read any Lovecraft. I don't even know if I like this. So I bought this one in the hopes that I could read something that I haven't read before, but that has, just it's in the social consciousness. People know Lovecraftian stuff, even if they don't know where it comes from or who Lovecraft is or anything like that. And I just feel like these words and names and references are all over the place, and that this is the source of all of that stuff. And so I want to read these to kind of figure that out. And they're just gorgeous. They're just pretty. And I think there are a couple of others. I kind of want to get myself the Sherlock versions as well, because I want to keep collecting versions of Sherlock Holmes and editions of that, because I really like Sherlock Holmes and the Arthur Conan Doyle series. And I kind of want to get the Austins, but I don't know if I necessarily want to get the Austins, and I kind of want to get the Poe book, but again, I have a Poe book. So it's kind of which versions of these classics do I feel like I need to own multiple copies of, because I don't care to own multiple copies of everything, but I do want to start collecting versions of some things that I like the most. So Sherlock, I already have multiple copies of various Sherlock things. I have some of the individual novels in individual novel format. I have a bind-up of the first kind of 3 Sherlock Holmes books in a volume 1. I have the full Sherlock Holmes in the leather-bound bind-up, so I kind of want to get the other 2 and kind of keep collecting in that direction. I've started a collection of Dracula now with this second copy of Dracula that I own. Yeah. So that was me and you sharing a glass of wine and talking about books. Like this if you liked it. Come back if you want to see more of me talking about books, potentially having more wine, because I'm an adult, I hope you have a lovely, lovely life, and I will see you in the future.